Hello 103 and 203. These are my Blue Book students. Please take out your textbooks so that we can go through the following pages together. Start by opening to page 80 and we will begin Unit 4. Unit 4 discusses customs and traditions. This vocabulary should be somewhat familiar to you since we already had a conversation in class, a student-led conversation that centered around different cultures around the world. So let's review quickly some of the vocabulary you're going to see. We begin with multicultural. This has several syllables. Let's track them together. Multicultural. Remember that each syllable is centered around a particular vowel. So we have multicultural. Where's the emphasis? Multicultural. Multicultural. 5 syllables. The stress or the emphasis is on the 3rd syllable. The meaning of this word is many cultures, such as different countries around the world. Be careful not to confuse this word with, it's not synonymous with countries if you're talking about cultures. So instead of saying Peru is a culture, you could say Peru is a country which has an interesting culture. The next vocabulary word, died out, as in no more. Many species around the world, such as African elephants, are in danger of dying out or becoming extinct. Extinct is a word referring to any species that no longer exists because they all died. The next word, interacts. This is a verb. It means to talk, to play, to work with, to communicate with. Any interaction, any social gathering that involves people coming together. The noun word is interaction. You could say right now, Kean University does not want any interaction between students and professors that would put them at risk for coronavirus. Our interaction is now entirely online. We interact with one another. Be careful of that S. A lot of times I see this mistake in this class. I interact, you interact, she interacts, he interacts, it interacts. We interact. They interact. Next word, celebration. It means a party. This is a terrible drawing of balloons and a present. Many cultures have interesting celebrations around the world. We've talked about that in class. The rest of the vocabulary words in this section are cognates. So we have anniversary, anniversario, political, politico, generation, generación. Let's see, generación. Generation, make sure you pronounce this sound, generation. It kind of sounds like the J, as in the word giraffe, generation. Generation, emphasis or stress on this syllable, generation. And finally, social, same thing, English and Spanish. In your textbook, go ahead and turn to page 84. And you'll see these vocabulary words used on this page. Listening 1, preparing to listen. You are going to listen to a radio program about customs in the modern world. Before you listen, circle the correct definitions for the word in bold. Go ahead, take some time and complete this page. Here, I want you to pause the video, and after you have completed this page, you can press play on the video to check your answers. Okay, I will give you those answers in just a moment. Move over to the next page, 85. Exercise 2 says work with a partner, discuss the questions. Obviously that's not possible, but I challenge you to write down your answers to these 2 questions at home. Number 1, what does tradition mean? What are the most important customs and traditions in your country or your family? Why are they important? For me, a tradition means something that I do with my family every year. For example, when the holiday Christmas comes around in December, Every year, my family enjoys reading a book called The Polar Express, and we sit around the fireplace and we listen to the story. This is a tradition that my family enjoys. Number 2, what are some ways that technology has changed people's daily lives in the past 25 years? Do you think these changes are positive or negative? Another connecting these two ideas for me, a tradition is that I always get together with my family members on holidays. Technology has changed this tradition because if someone is unable to be at an event such as Christmas, we can still communicate with them using the cell phone or by using FaceTime. So we can actually see that person on the holiday if they can't be there in person. What are some ways technology has changed your life? And how has this been different from perhaps your parents' life or your grandparents? Over the past 25 years, how has technology created positive or negative change? Again, go ahead and pause the video and write down a few sentences to answer both of these questions. After, we'll move on to listening 4.1. Listen to an advertisement for a radio program. Answer the questions. Remember, always preview the questions before listening. Same with a test. If you're taking an exam, read the questions first before you look at the answers so you know what information you're searching for. Number 1, who is Kevin Lee? So obviously there'll be a guy named Kevin Lee, and we need to hear who he is. This could be related to his job, could be related to his family. Any information you have about Kevin Lee, jot it down here. Number 2, what is the program about? And number 3, when can you listen to this program? Go ahead and answer these questions as we listen to 4.1.
This Sunday on Book of the Week, we interview Kevin Lee, a well-known anthropologist and the author of Changing Traditions in the Modern World. In this program, we will discuss his love for cultural anthropology and whether traditions are adapting to the modern world or dying out. Join us at 1 p.m.
Moving on to 4.2, listen to the radio program. Which picture shows a tradition that the speaker doesn't mention? You're going to hear a speaker talking about traditions and the impacts technology has had on them. The question is asking, what is not mentioned? What does the speaker not say? As you're listening, check off the things that the speaker does say. So for example, you're going to hear him mention television. Go ahead and put a little check next to that when you hear it. If he does mention it, that's not the answer. So you're looking for one of these things that the speaker does not talk about. After you're done with this page, turn to the next page where they ask you to listen to 4.2 again. This time you're going to be writing notes in the chart. The effects of modern technology on traditions. Notice how they've given you 2 columns, one for old tradition and one for new tradition. You're going to be listening for sending cards or messages. In the olden days, or not so long ago, people sent cards in the past. The new tradition is people send messages by email. So you're going to find the old and new traditions for preparing holiday food. What did people used to do long ago, and what do they do now? Recipes and where people eat holiday meals. We'll listen to 4.2, and I'll reveal some possible answers after.
Welcome to this week's book review. In the studio with me is Dr. Kevin Lee, professor of anthropology and the author of the best-selling book, Changing Traditions in the Modern World. First of all, could you tell us what anthropologists study and what your own area of interest is?
That's a good question. Anthropology, in a general sense, is the study of humanity. I know that's not very exact. That's why we have many types of anthropology, like linguistic anthropology and social anthropology. My specialty is cultural anthropology. I study different cultures around the world and how social and political changes affect these cultures.
And when did you first become interested in anthropology?
I grew up in a multicultural home. My mother is American and my father is Korean. They were both English teachers, so we traveled a lot. As a child, I lived in Japan, Thailand, and Egypt. That's why I decided to study anthropology. Growing up in different cultures helps you realize that customs and traditions are often local. Things that are acceptable in one culture can be completely unacceptable in another. However, despite some differences between cultures, I have noticed that there are often more similarities than differences between people.
And do traditions change?
Absolutely. Customs and traditions change all the time. Some traditions die out because our way of life changes, but most traditions adapt.
As I understand it, that's one of the main points of your latest book.
Yes. My book is about the effect of modern technology on traditions around the world. It's well known that things such as electricity, the telephone, and television have changed our lives significantly. The introduction of these inventions into our lives has changed many of our customs. For example, in the past, families spent time playing board games or listening to the radio in the evening. These activities would deepen family relationships. Now, due to developments in technology, people spend more time interacting with other people over the internet.
Is that a bad thing?
I don't think so. There are people who complain about the changes that technology has brought to our lives. Personally, I think these changes are fine. We still spend time interacting with other people, but it's not always face-to-face.
In your book, you discuss how technology has changed the way we celebrate important holidays.
That's right. A simple example is sending cards or messages. In the past, people sent each other cards to celebrate important events like birthdays and anniversaries. But now, more people send messages through social networking sites or by email. Another example of changing customs is holiday food. A few generations ago, people spent a lot of time and effort preparing special meals for celebrations. It was usually the women who did this. Some dishes could take up to a week to prepare. But now, we don't have to work so hard. This is because we have modern kitchens and supermarket food. We don't have to spend endless hours making our own butter or bread anymore. Everything is quicker and easier now.
I remember my grandmother working for days to make food. She had a huge cookbook that she got from her grandmother. Everything had to be exactly as it was when she was a little girl.
That's a good example of a tradition that has been replaced by technology. You can find any recipe you want on the internet. This means that many people don't need cookbooks anymore. Another thing is that many families now go out instead of cooking at home. In India, for example, families hire catering companies to provide food for weddings or special occasions. In the United States, on Thanksgiving, which is one of the biggest celebrations, many families go to restaurants because they don't want to spend their holiday working in the kitchen.
So, people do continue their tradition of eating a special meal. They just do it in a different way.
Yes, traditions don't always die out, but customs and traditions do change and adapt to the modern world.
At this point, if you need to listen again, you can rewind the video. Challenge yourself to listen to that section 2-3 times, as many as it takes. And for those of you who are finished, here are the answers. So for page 84, exercise 1, this provides the answers for 1 through 8. Number 1, my neighborhood is very multicultural. People of many cultures and religions live here. The answer was B. Multicultural means including people who have many different customs and beliefs. Number 2, died out. The answer was A, to become more rare and eventually disappear. Number 3, the answer was B, interacts, means to communicate and do things with someone or something. The opposite of interacts would be to avoid. Answer A. Number 4, tomorrow is my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. Anniversario, a party with a lot of guests. 5B, a celebration is an occasion where you do something to mark a special day or event. It is not necessarily a trip to another country. You might have a celebration on your trip, but that's not the definition. Generations for 6. A, all the people of about the same age within a society or family. 7B, political, relating to the activities of the government. And finally, 8A, social anthropologists, social being the adjective to describe the anthropologists. A, relating to a large group of people who live together in an organized way. For number 2, a tradition is a custom or way of behaving that has continued for a long time in a group of people or a society. And for question 2, your answers will vary. Exercise 3, Kevin Lee is an anthropologist. If you wrote down social anthropologist, that's fine. If you wrote down that he was knowledgeable about traditions, that's fine. Any of those answers describe Kevin Lee. Number 2, the program is about traditions in the modern world. Modern, I think that's a cognate as well, moderno. Modern world, the present day, what's happening right now, the opposite of past. Modern is current, the present. And number 3, when can you listen to this program? Sunday at 1 p.m. Exercise 4, shaking hands. The answer is A. The speaker did not mention shaking hands. They did mention playing board games, listening to the radio, watching TV, sending cards, and cooking food. And exercise 5. This was the chart that you were to fill out on page 86. These are some possible options. Again, if your writing or your notes differ slightly, that's okay. But these are some of the most important points that were made during the radio program. Moving on to post-listening, identifying cause and effect. During a lecture or presentation, a speaker sometimes talks about causes. To introduce causes, a speaker can use phrases like due to, the reason for this is, because, etc. In class, several members of the 203 group have told me that you completed a cause and effect essay in another class, so that's great. Quick review here. I'm going to use yellow to highlight the cause. In the first sentence, due to modern kitchens, or because of modern kitchens, people don't have to spend much time cooking anymore. Let's use blue for the rest. Okay, so cause is in yellow. The blue will be for effects. People don't have to spend much time cooking. I would love this. I would spend less time in my kitchen cooking if I have a modern kitchen. In this instance, the cause comes before the effect. Notice the use of the comma here. Due to this, people don't have to spend much time cooking. Let's take a look at the next one. Get my yellow back for... that's good. People don't have to spend much time cooking anymore. The reason for this is that we have modern kitchens. The word that over here is showing that you can use it. You don't have to. You could have the reason for this is we have modern kitchens. So that's optional whether or not you want to include that. In this sentence, well, 2 sentences, the cause is coming later. It comes after the effect. The reason for this is your big clue that that is the cause. As a result, people don't have to spend much time cooking, but you don't always have to write your effect after you write your cause. You can reverse the two. The speaker can also introduce effects using phrases like that's why, this means, etc. As a child, I lived in Japan, Thailand, and Egypt. So that would be our cause. Get my yellow back here. They lived in these places. That's not an event. Nothing happened yet, right? That's just they lived there. And that's why I decided to study anthropology. That's why is a big indicator of an effect. Because they lived in these places, they decided to study anthropology. Last one. You can find any recipe you want on the internet. True. Nothing is happening yet from that until we get to the second sentence. This means that many people don't need cookbooks anymore. Again, we have cause coming first with the effect to follow. Finding any recipe you want on the internet has the result of people don't need cookbooks anymore. Let's take a closer look at cause and effect. In 4.3, exercise 6, listen and complete the excerpts from the program. Here you are simply listening to one sentence at a time and filling in the missing words. So the first one is, anthropology, in a general sense, is the study of humanity. I know that's not very exact. That's why we have many types of anthropology, like linguistic anthropology and social anthropology. Put the missing words, that's why, right here in the blank. Here's 4.3.
1. Anthropology, in a general sense, is the study of humanity. I know that's not very exact. That's why we have many types of anthropology, like linguistic anthropology and social anthropology. 2. Some traditions die out because our way of life changes. 3. Now, due to developments in technology, people spend more time interacting with other people over the internet. 4. But now we don't have to work so hard. This is because we have modern kitchens and supermarket food. 5. In the United States on Thanksgiving, which is one of the biggest celebrations, many families go to restaurants because they don't want to spend their holiday working in the kitchen.
We'll go over those answers momentarily. For now, move on to number 7. Not working with a partner, but rather on your own, independently. Underline the cause and circle the effect in each sentence in exercise 6. For this, at this point, I would like you to pause the video, attempt this on your own, and after you are finished, come back and click on play. Did you pause the video? Did you really, or are you just going through it? Okay, I trust you. Here are the answers for exercise 6 on page 87. Pause the video now to check your work. Remember, if you have any questions or you're confused about anything, make a note in your book and remind yourself to ask me on Tuesday when we chat via Google Hangouts. Okay, number 1. Anthropology, in a general sense, is the study of humanity. There is no cause and no effect in that first sentence. It's simply defining anthropology. I know that's not very exact. That's why we have many types of anthropology, like linguistic anthropology and social anthropology. That's not very exact is why we have many types of anthropology. Cause, effect. If you circled like linguistic anthropology and social anthropology, that's fine too. That's just more information than they were asking for. But we have more types due to a not very exact definition of anthropology. Number 2, some traditions die out because our way of life changes. This is an example, of reversing the effect and the cause. Some traditions die out as a result of, going the wrong way there. our way of life changing. Life changes and it causes traditions to die out. Number 3, now, due to developments in technology, people spend more time interacting with other people over the internet. What did you label as cause? Developments in technology has caused people to spend more time interacting with other people over the internet. Number 4, but now we don't have to work so hard. This is because we have modern kitchens and supermarket food. Your big hint here is because we have modern kitchens and supermarket food. This is leading to us not having to work so hard. Effect is circled first, followed by the cause, because we have modern kitchens and supermarket food. And number 5, in the United States on Thanksgiving, which is one of the biggest celebrations there, my family goes to restaurants because they don't want to spend their holiday working in the kitchen. Many families go to restaurants, I apologize. Many families go to restaurants because they don't want to spend their holidays working in the kitchen. Because, same as the last sentence, tells us our cause. They don't want this. So as a result, many families go to restaurants. Let's go through exercise 8 together. Circle the best word or phrase to complete each sentence. Number 1, blank people spend more time online. Our social lives have changed. Which do you think is the better option? Well, this sentence is a cause, and as we saw with the other examples, because often leads the cause sentence. This means that is incorrect because there would have to be a sentence before it, and because people spend more time online, our social lives have changed. Number 2, both of my parents work full-time. Blank, they don't have much time to cook at home. If we're identifying cause and effect, the cause is both parents work full-time. The effect is they don't have much time to cook at home. So which of these is the better option for transitioning into the effect? That's why. The reason for this would be leading us to a cause, and we are not going into a second cause. That's why is used with effect. Take a look at your post-listening identifying cause and effect box at the top of your page to see why. Number 3, we have developed new technology. Blank, our habits have changed. Again, which is the cause, which is the effect? What do you think? This means that our habits have changed. What's the cause? We developed new technology, and the effect is habits changed. This means that is a transitional phrase leading into the effect. Number 4, people don't buy many CDs anymore. Blank, you can buy digital music. Because. This is a lovely compound sentence, something we're striving to write in class. And number 5, blank, social networking sites. People communicate more over the internet. Identify your cause first, social networking sites, leading to people communicating over the internet. If that's the effect, what fits best? Because of. Because of social networking sites, people communicate more over the internet. We're going to stop there for today. If anything was confusing, or if you have any questions or need any clarification about any of the content we went over today, feel free to email me, or as I said in my email, I will be available Tuesday on Google Hangouts, and I would love to hear from you then regarding any questions that you have. It will be a video conference, so I'll be able to explain things on a more personal level and hear from you. That's all for now. Have a great day.